All right, episode 76. Today we're going to talk about, are you in that real estate rut? These are real tips to pull yourself out of that real estate rut right now. We're going to get started right now.
Really?
Double right now.
Right now.
Welcome to the only real estate podcast worth listening to, with your hosts Nick Good, Matt Kelderman, and Brian Force. Combined, they have 26 years of experience and have sold over 1,500 homes. Join them each week as they bring you everything you need to know about real estate. And now, here are your hosts, Nick, Matt, and Brian.
All right.
I'm still not timing it well.
That's
I'm trying.
It's all good.
I'm
All
gonna
right.
figure that fade out situation.
Episode 76. Today we're going to talk about that real estate rut, right? Because I think we're all feeling it this month.
We're feeling it this month, man. It's beautiful weather outside, and that usually just makes me feel like the businesses should just be cranking them out. But we've actually hit, I wouldn't say a rough patch or anything like that. It's just we're definitely doing good, but we're not
Doing great.
doing great. So we're definitely going to dive into that. I do, if he's done with his sharing and stuff, I want to give Matt the floor here for a moment to tell us a little bit about his new artwork, because I'm in love with it.
This is actually ties in perfectly to what we're doing, because I had this exact experience, unknowing what our topic would be this week, where I just told Brian, I said, hey, I'm Sans kid for 5 days, and I'm straight up hopping in the car at the ass crack on Wednesday, and I'm gone. And I drove up to Colorado and went and hung out with my aunt and messed around in Durango, and it's very, very pretty up there. But I don't know how my camera works. I can't see myself.
Just hold it up towards your microphone.
like
Probably would work.
I know, like it's. So I got this done, and I have other tattoos, so I'm not being like, oh, I got a tattoo. But like, it was a really cool weekend, man. It was very, very relaxing, and it was nice.
So, what was your audiobooks, podcast, or music?
I listened to Dax Shepard podcast.
Okay.
So it's called Armchair Expert, and somebody turned me onto it, and he's got like over 200 episodes. Dude, I've vegged out on that the whole way back.
Yeah.
On the way there, I got down to some of my own playlist, and then I was listening to Eckhart, and I'm not going to have anybody clown me on this. I've heard 5 people say Eckhart Tolle, and then other people say Eckhart Tolle. I don't really know how to say it.
I'm going to tell you, if you haven't met the dude in person, I don't really think you get to speak on
judge me
how
on it.
What
you
is
say
it?
his last name, right?
He's just kind of a mindset, spiritual type of guru,
Like
kind of like
a
Michael
new
Singer.
Earth is a big one of his.
So anyways, I'm just on my own little personal journey. So I just drove 13 and a half hours to the middle of nowhere and back just to hang out for a few days. It was awesome.
Well, I mean, we wanted to make it because a little bit of that, too, where we're feeling, usually August, we get into that in a normal real estate market where we feel that back to school rut, right? Where you feel that slowdown, people are trying to navigate the school waters, et cetera. Then you get into September, and then October, November usually pick back up. But before we get started on that, if you're watching this live, someone's doing it right now. Matthew, thank you for that. But if you're watching this live, go ahead and type L in the comments down below. Let's get some traction on this. But if you're listening to this on iTunes, leave us a review, please, and go over to our Facebook group, the only real estate group worth being a part of. This is where I asked that question in there. What's the 1 or 2 things that you've done to help pull yourself out of a business rut and back into production mode, right? So this is going to be real tips going off of what people in our group have shared, what we've experienced and what we've done. And in the meantime, look, if you're wanting to increase your listing business, right, go over to touracademy.com/take10, TEN, sign up for the Take 10 listing webinar. You'll learn our tips, tricks, and secrets on how we're getting more listing leads. Just found out a new lead source that we're going to test out. This is a gentleman I was talking to last week from Midland.
Okay.
So I'm going to test it out and let y'all know about it. And he's saying he's having a lot of success.
Give us a hint.
Yeah. It's an online home valuation form that's working. So it's not very expensive. I'm going to test it out and see how it goes.
All right.
So go over to touracademy.com/take10. Sign up for Tour Academy.
TEN.
TEN. It's $1. If you go through that one, it's $1.
$1 for your first month at Tour Academy. Next mastermind is on Monday. And man, did we dive deep a couple weeks ago. That was really, really fun.
Yeah.
So again, I think I get more out of them than anybody. So
I mean, they've gotten better and better as we've progressed in this, right? I mean, those I'm seeing so much value being shared that it's actually impacting our businesses,
Yeah.
right? Like we're taking notes in this. I mean, again, we had Chauncey on, the gentleman the last one who
Yep.
had run a large business,
Yeah,
had
Robert
health,
Haley.
yeah, he had health, some health issues, and now he's going back into
Yep.
production.
He was
mode.
a 7th level guy as well, and that was pretty cool to hear his insights too.
Absolutely. So, when you're going through this, Matt, let's use you as the example, right? You went to Colorado, get your head on, straight.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you were going through a little bit of that production mode, that lead generation rut there.
Yeah.
So, what kind of walk us through that mindset there?
So, like, a little bit of it for me, and I don't ever mind sharing on the show, is like, dude, just if you act like outside life doesn't sometimes affect your desire to want to do the activities necessary for the show, then you need it. So, like, I found myself like a couple of weeks ago feeling really confined, right? I wasn't getting anything done. I was avoiding the shit out of everything I needed to be doing, which for me, just personality wise, when I start really hardcore avoiding things I need to be doing, that's a pretty clear sign that I'm overwhelmed in some aspect of my life.
Yep.
And I need to start looking around to figure out what's going on. So I just needed some time to clear my head. For me, that's getting away from buildings and getting away from a little bit of the responsibility. I still worked every morning for a couple of hours, but it was with a view and it was outside and it was only the things that needed to be done. Everything else just kind of could wait until I got back on Monday. But yeah, man, for me, it involved, I'm an isolator by nature. I like being alone, which is, I think, weird for people to know about me because I'm so, like, when you meet me socially, it seems like I'd always need people around. The reality is, like, my favorite thing to do is shut myself off and, like, do my own thing. So sometimes when I have the opportunity to do that in a positive way, and again, just the drive to where I was going in itself was a bit of an experience, and then getting there was really nice. It really recharged me, and it did the other thing too that I think, there's a lot of people who talk about sports. They don't believe in momentum. I do, so I don't care what your opinion is if you don't. I will tell you, I am flush with opportunities in the past 72 hours, like an absurd amount. My agent referral business is always kind of doing its own thing, but I've had 4 opportunities just slide in out of nowhere. A couple of a client who called me 2 days ago and was like, the unit 2 doors down from me is available and it's smaller and I want it. We got that under contract yesterday. Now we're going to list hers to sell, right? Like that was not on that opportunity was not on the table on Sunday.
Yeah.
I don't think it has anything to do with just I took 5 days off, now I get business. But I think there was just a part of that reset that allowed me to maybe see those opportunities a little bit better, or sometimes you're just rewarded in life for doing the right thing.
Well, the main thing, like, look, you go when a lot of people go through this, whether you're brand new or you've had some momentum, it's the hardest part. And this is I've gone through the rut, but I'm so routine that I still want to lead generate, right? Because that to me gets me out of the rut. Like usually when I get into the rut, right, and I feel this lull, it's because I got out of the lead generation practice that I'm that I do day in and day out. And so that's the easiest way for me to do it. But usually when I'm coaching our agents and that we're masterminding with others, through tour or whatever, is that they just stop doing everything. Right? They know they should be doing something.
Sure. But
they don't want to get out of bed. Right? They're struggling to even find any type of motivation. They just want to pull the covers up and be like, you know what? Maybe this will get better if I just stay here and lay here long enough.
I think we do have to accept the fact that some of this, like what we're calling getting out of the rut, is your personality too, right? Because like I see that in you. Nick's going to be like, hey, I'm probably not going to end up in one because my consistency and my tactics are always so consistent, right? So I don't think you're going to find yourself there, but I do think real estate in general attracts a lot of look at the pretty things, emotional, high I type of people. And I want them to hear that sometimes it is okay. Sometimes it seems like you're compounding the problem, but if you're coming back with a plan or a desired result, it is okay to completely reboot the machine every once in a while, especially if you've moved into a place where you're just kind of avoiding or you're paralyzed into inaction, which is those people who aren't getting up in the morning. That's a form of just being in a negative mindset, right? That's just today's not going to be any different. I'm going to get started next Monday, right? I've told myself that BS story so many times.
Well, it's like where you start beating yourself up about the stuff that you should be changing, right? And then you get mad about it, or you get sad about it, and then even deeper into that hole, right? Like, you've had a shit week, you haven't been doing what you're supposed to do, so it's Thursday or Friday, and you could reclaim the week right here today, but you're like, man, I fucked up this week. I'm just gonna try.
coasting the rest
Yeah,
of
I'm
the
just gonna
week.
try again on
Yeah.
Monday. So you make it even worse.
And I think you're right. That's the biggest thing that I hear is like, you know what? I'm just going to do this on Monday, and we're going to take the rest of the week off. And it's like, again, we always
Gym's always packed on January 1st.
exactly.
Yeah.
And January 3rd, that's usually you've already lost 40% of them, right?
Right.
But we always say, look, and I hate using this, but I've been using this a lot lately. Is when was the best time to plant a tree? 25 years ago.
It was the
Second best time is today.
Yep.
Right. And so, I was on a mastermind call, and that's the masterminds. Like we're starting to see them coming back into person. This was a Zoom one that Kevin Cannon was on it.
Yeah.
I can't remember. Andy Tuttle put it on, but getting to talk to him. But some of the biggest frustration I have is seeing, you start your lead generation mode, or you start your business, and you take 2 steps, and you don't get the success you want. You're like,
Right.
you just go into this negative mindset mode. You pull the covers up over your head, but you kind of sit with inaction, right, for 2, 3, 4 weeks, and then you start it back. All right, I'm going good.
Yep.
I'm going to do this, and then
Yep.
you do day 1 and day 2, and then you stop for another 4 weeks, and then you're questioning why it's not working.
Yep.
We're just not in an immediate results business.
Right.
And sometimes we get stuck in this rut, or we get this mentality that like, well, guys, I lead generated for 3 hours for that whole week. Nothing happened. Right. Like, and I've used those excuses.
Not rich yet.
Yeah. I'm not rich yet. People aren't beating down my door. And it's like, it kind of ties back into what I was saying earlier. It's like, I don't think I have had a good 3-day run of business because I did something 5 days previous.
Yeah.
Right. That's from consistent activity. I will tell you, those opportunities all came from 2 lead sources that I've been pouring a ton of time into for 3 years, and you can abandon them for 5 days or a week, and they still have the same desired effect.
Yep.
So part of this is doing the work up front. But I liked what Christina Smallhorn, I don't know if you don't know her, she has an awesome YouTube channel. She just like busted she's like 40,000 now. She's maybe like 40 or 50,000 subscribers now. But anyways, she has a cool group that she
really
runs
good.
with Malcolm Lawson, and how they kind of share some of their YouTube stuff. And we all obviously suck at YouTube still. So like, I'm always fascinated when I see other people like having success with it. I'm like, that's so amazing. But I think there's people like her and like you who just, they look at their task list and they're like, I'm in a rut. What can I do off of this task list?
Yep.
Where somebody like me, I look at my task list and I'm in the rut and I'm like, just another thing I'm not going to be able to get to today. Shut it down and start over tomorrow, right?
I think that's big for me because definitely when I'm feeling exasperated or I'm in a rut or whatever, the last thing that helps me is looking at my to-do list because I'm like, here's this mountain that I'm staring at, and I'm already not in the right mindset.
And I think the to-do list is usually something that's not going to get you back into the money.
I told you my passport story. It took me a year and a half to get it renewed because it was on my to-do list, and I didn't have its time blocked. And I needed to finally leave the country, and I had to expedite it because I had an 18-month-old reminder to go just get my passport done. I had to pay like $200 extra.
Of course you did.
So let's hit some of these. Like we'll go through just a couple.
I didn't read this comment list, so all of these are going to be new to me. I didn't really check in on this
I didn't
post.
go all the way through. I just scanned them as well. But again, this is in the only real estate group worth being a part of. So if you're not a part of that group yet, go and join up.
Yeah.
All right. And so Corey Mills put some good stuff in here. One that he does to get out of this rut is he revisits his goals and gets clear on why he's doing what he's doing.
Yeah.
Right. And that's great.
Sure.
That probably would work for some, not everyone. He doubles down on dollar productive activities. And that to me, again, that's the biggest thing that I look at is look, there's the running joke that in our office, and they used to have it. I did this thing with Colton Lindsay, where I said prospecting solves everything, right? And then they just put that little meme up in that office. Actually, it was all in here, but I would push everything off to the side that wasn't time sensitive. You don't have any contracts that time sensitive. Is like, all right, who am I going to reach out to? Like, who am I going to lead generate on? That's the easiest way, right? Or, what I typically do to keep me out of the rut anyway, or keep me out of that business lull is I'm hitting podcasts every morning. I'll go do a run in the morning and just hit that. And it's not real estate related. It may be mindset. It may be just real estate investing.
Yep.
Maybe there's this Millionaire Unveiled one where they're just talking about how much money they've made from investing. I like to hear people's net worths.
Sure.
I've been sleeping on podcasts, and as somebody who's had one for almost 2 years, I've never really been the type of person who's like, podcast, you should go listen to them. I'm just like, right? I'm like the renter who's like, buying a home is the greatest idea you could ever have, right? but the funny thing about that is like, through a little bit of this journey, not just this weekend, but even the past like maybe month or so, I've been turned on to a lot of really good podcasts, and I'm starting to dig them.
But I mean, you mentioned podcasts in the mornings. This is what I talked about on our team meeting yesterday a little bit. For me personally, I like to revisit why I might be in a rut. I do tend to get in a rut around the same time every single year. I think it is a combination of kids going back to school, so the market may take a little bit of a dip. There's a little bit more. There's a few more objections, I think, to handle in that August, early September timeframe than you have other parts of the year, because people start to get into the later parts of the year. We're going to hold off till spring. The kids are back in school. Blah blah blah, whatever. Right. So you're already going to have a little bit more adversity, I think, in general, and then that starts to get me to kind of double down on my lulls and be like, now I'm really in a rut, and it's just. We measure time in years for some reason, this weird thing we do as human beings. And so, like, it seems like a marathon every year. So by the time we get to September, I'm always, like, a little bit tired anyway. You know what I mean? And so I just start to get in a little bit of a rut. And I was talking on the team meeting yesterday. I was like, look, you got to get back to basics, whatever that means for you, right? Dollar productive stuff, revisit your goals, blah, 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 so on and so forth. But I was like, give yourself a little bit of a margin for error. For me, it's getting up early. And I encourage everybody to do that, and I encourage everybody to get away from that negativity about, you got to be up at 4 a.m, this, that, or whatever. Whenever you're getting up right now, just get up an hour earlier tomorrow and just don't do anything but be with yourself. And that's huge for me. Like this morning, I got up and worked out.
Advice yesterday. I love this.
And it's not always like I don't always get up and work out, right? I think that's one of the things.
What'd you do yesterday, Brian?
I'll get there. I did work out this morning, but that's what I think a lot of people associate that sort of negativity with. Is people think that you got to get up and do the hardest stuff in your day first, because that's kind of like the token, like master CEO advice, like get up and eat the frog, do the hardest stuff first. I got up yesterday and watched the rest of Stuart Little that I didn't finish the night before. Like I got up, had my tea, put on Stulit, and that's what I call it. And that's all I did. And I drank my tea,
that so much.
my little detox tea, and I enjoyed myself. And I would encourage, and here's the thing, the reason I do that is because I am a fundamental believer that if you get up in a rush, you're not going to get most of your shit done that day. You're going to become overwhelmed. You're going to start deprioritizing. And when you deprioritize, the first things to go are going to be the hardest things, which are usually the most dollar productive things. So don't make work the first thing you do in the morning. Get up and be with yourself. Journal, read, watch Pixar films, whatever you're going to do, right? Even if you don't have to, even if you don't work out or anything like that, that puts me in such a better place, because here's the thing, most people save that type of stuff for when they've wound down at the end of the day. But if you already had a really unproductive day, winding down after that is not getting you any closer to your goals, right?
No.
Start your day with yourself. Start your day by unwinding, and then ease into the hardest parts of it, right? Get ahead of steam by having some time to yourself. Meditate. I will tell you that's one of the more hokey, I think, piece of advice I give people, but man, has it changed my life. Meditating on a regular basis has been so huge for me.
Even if you don't do here's what I will say around meditation, because I think this kind of plays into a little bit about, because most of this discussion, again, is just about you mastering some of your mind and making yourself do things sometimes when you don't want to, right? Like Nick influenced my words there. But like the reality is like, I think one of the hardest things for all of us to do is to realize that, like, okay, so meditation, for instance. I kind of poo-pooed on meditation forever because I was like, dude, I can't stop thinking. Like, if you were ever in my mind for a second, you'd realize, like, meditation is pointless for me, right? Yeah. But the reality is, that's not even the point. So if you're the person who's just kind of tossing meditation aside because you think, like, you can never get to a headspace where you don't... I still think shit constantly.
Yeah.
You know what I do when I'm sitting there and I'm trying to have some mental alone time? As soon as I start thinking something and I realize I think I'm something, I say to myself, my other self, I'm like, hey, Matt, you're thinking about that. Think about the end of your nose. And then I just picture my vision going down the end of my nose, right, for like half a second. And then I'm off to the race thinking about something else. But I will tell you, if you do that for 20 minutes once a day, like you do come out of that feeling, even if it's just a little bit more rejuvenated, like, hey, I did something that was a little bit self-care. I would like to do that again tomorrow.
Yeah.
That's the type that when we talk about habit changing, the viewers always drop, right? Like people just turn it off. They're like, these sons of bitches wrote me in with a sweet title. Now they're just talking to me about time blocking, right? But the reality is all this incremental change happens exactly like that.
Yes.
It's incremental. If you are doing something that you know you should be doing the opposite thing, but you're doing it wrong 10 out of 10 times, you know you are doing that. You don't have to tell me. You just know that I know that you already know you are screwing that up 10 out of 10 times. You know what you do? Just one time, try not to screw it up. Try to do it the way that you want to do it one time out of those 10 times. And don't reward yourself for that, but be aware that you did it right, because the second you do it right one time, your mindset has already changed so much because you no longer have the excuse that you can't. And then it just takes a matter of doing it the right way 3-4 times out of 10 times. Then when you hit 5 or 6, it immediately tips the seesaw the other way into now you're habitual on the side of doing it right. And it doesn't really take a ton of effort. Now look, there's deep ingrained stuff that we've got in us that our parents put in us from long ago that you got to work on, right? Get a therapist. I'm not talking about that stuff. I'm talking about the mindset shit that you know is within your capability. If you find yourself all the time saying, damn it, Matt, I don't understand why you constantly are making the same mistake. You know for a fact you are better than that, right? Like you know you can do a better job at this thing, right? Like how can you then move forward in the exact same headspace you were in before, right? I don't think you can.
Well, this is, and I can't claim that I didn't even know this quote. Kevin Cannon brought this up on our mastermind today. It says, and this was about the consistency and falls in line with what we're talking about with how you're going to start this out. So this is a Will Smith quote, so maybe you have heard it. You don't set out to build a wall. You don't say, I'm going to build the biggest, baddest, greatest wall that's ever been built. You don't start there. You say, I'm going to lay this brick as perfectly as a brick can be laid. Yeah. You do that every single day, and soon you will have a wall.
Yeah.
Right? And so that's something, first of all, I've never heard that. I never heard that quote until he told me about it today. I'm like, all right, let me go find it. I'm like,
there's like a story about him and his brother actually having to build a brick wall when they were kids, I think, or something. And I think it's, it might be a folktale, but
I don't want people to like tag Illuminati videos from like YouTube on here when I say this, but it's unfortunate that this recent situation with Will Smith has came out, because there is a lot of amazing mindset and live your life to the fullest that Will Smith puts out there that is amazing. It's kind of unfortunate he's getting dumped on for what people thinking he's whatever, but like I've never heard that either.
But I'm gonna say it right now, leave Will Smith and Tom Hanks alone. They didn't do anything. I need to relax.
But when you think about that, if you had that printed and you looked at that and revisit, like how Corey talked about revisiting his goals, or Javier Vendina talked about this is extreme, but I literally imagined something tragic happening to me and where that would leave my family. So life throws curveballs all the time, and I began panicking with the thought of something happening to me in one of my ruts. Right. So what would I leave behind? What future income, am I not leaving behind for my family? Right. So he's like, with that, I usually get back on it right after that.
It's interesting because I think this is something that you naturally do really well. Like just your thought of the legacy building side of what you want your life to be. Mm-hmm. I think you naturally have gone there, especially as a father, like really, really well. I'm at the beginning stages of what Javier's talking about right there. I can't remember, it's some NFL linebacker, it may have been LT, but like legitimately pictures the guy across from him like hurting his family and then just wants to go maul the dude, right? But it's the same thing kind of in reverse.
I wonder what Joe Theismann was doing to his family.
Yeah, no shit. But you think about like something like that, I think especially as a parent, that does kind of work. You look at, where does the money in my child's life come from? I know there have been many times that the fact that other people rely on me is really the only reason that I've put effort into a thing.
I mean, right? To tie the two together, though, it sounds morbid, but it's true. If I've used this example a few times. We talk about dollar productive activities every day, focusing on the things that are going to drive your business and your career forward. If you had some sort of, God forbid, some terminal illness, and the only thing to keep you alive was that you had to do X, Y, and Z every day, there is no way in hell you wouldn't do those things.
People do it every day.
They would. You would, exactly. You know what I mean? But we a lot of times get in a rut where we won't do that to hit our financial goals, to set ourselves up for our future. And there's a big disconnect there. And we talk about what's the difference between you and wildly successful people. It's that disconnect right there. It's that competitive, call it, it is that emotional attachment to, I can't breathe, I can't live, I can't have the life that I want to have unless I do X, Y, and Z, and I will strive for it like I am dying. And that's something Nick has, that's something the rest of us have to work out a little bit. But in plain terms, that's the disconnect.
But here's the thing. That's a learned deal because I saw, this is also something that was learned, right? This is something that, during the recession, I helped people sell their houses that never thought they would be in a financial ruin the way they were. I know of an agent off the top of my head this agent used to be in this office, relocated somewhere else, had a stroke, and it's so bad that person can no longer work again.
It's just, there's somebody that we were talking to last week that was in a not the same situation, but a similar one. You just don't know what life's going to throw at you.
Yeah, and it's like, what money, what do you have, right? And so this is an opportunity to say, look, depending on where you're at in your career, your age, et cetera, we're all at an age group that if we were considering that we're professional athletes, we're in the prime of our careers.
Sure.
So why would we want that slowdown, right? It's something I talk with Elizabeth, and she uses this, what's in motion stays in motion. So why would you even, where people start to take a break, or they're like, oh, I've had a great month, I'm gonna take a little bit of a time off.
Yeah.
No, if you're a racehorse, you're not going to slow it down. You're going to keep going. You're going to push it, right? Because you don't know what tomorrow is going to bring. But something that Sheila Goff had mentioned in here, she said group therapy, right? Yep. And she's like, Nick, you were there. And what our group therapy was, this was during the recession days, and this was our mini mastermind. But this was when shit was hitting the fan. You had sellers calling you, stuff wasn't selling. You had buyers wanting to go look at 1,000 houses because there was 50 new ones coming on every day. And so every Tuesday we would go to right up the street here. It was like a 50-cent vodka night.
Wizards.
No, it wasn't Wizards. It was that place right over here. They tore it down.
Yeah.
I did make a lot of money off Wizards though. And we had a group of agents that we would just have some drinks and we would just complain about the market.
Sure.
And we would get it out, and then we would just start all over the next day. And that was, during that time, our group therapy, happy hours, was one of the best.
I bet.
that got us through it.
I bet.
Right? And so it's finding that, because here's the thing. In this industry, can you go home and unless your spouse is in this or your family member, they don't understand.
They don't want to hear it. But if they are, that doesn't make it any better. You know why? Because they're dealing with the same shit on their side of the plate.
Yeah.
True. We're legitimately, every single person in this room is in a relationship with somebody who's associated with this industry. And the last thing they want to do is talk to you about your crappy day, because guess what? They were dealing with the same jack wagons on the other side of it.
100%, bro.
And probably worse.
Well, almost for the three of us, theirs is almost assuredly worse.
I know for me, it's for damn sure, right? But there's this thing. There's like this, like we talk about actionable advice. There's this disconnect that I see in a lot of agents who have been in the business for a while that are still sort of struggling through some of these ruts, where we kind of have this mindset, and I know I've been guilty of it, where we sort of think that things will get easier in the future, right? We sort of just think that if we keep trucking and we keep moving along, that like more of our sphere business will just fall into our laps, right? It's just more time on task, more like, hey, dude, if I'm in the business for 10 years, it's not untrue, but it becomes a lot more true with the activities, right?
Yes.
Because the reality is, I know people that have been in the business 15 years that still struggle to get sphere business. I was like, how the fuck does that happen?
Yeah.
Well, it's because you got into ruts like this and you didn't do X, Y, and Z day after day after day.
And like you said, you had an opportunity, especially when you talk about agents who have been in the industry for very long. You have the opportunity to have been building that brick wall that you're talking about. Each one of those past clients was a perfectly laid brick that you just chose to lay cattywampus.
Yep.
Well, and so there's some more in here. Well, I just clicked off of it. That's really good. I mean, look, there's a lot of them in here. Like Patrice said, look at her bank account. Right. I don't know. That won't
That
do it for me.
paralyzes
I'm
me,
gonna,
dude.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you.
for a lot of people that has the
I'm going to
opposite
tell you
effect.
that I don't like to operate on a budget.
I'm that dude that when I have lots and lots and lots of money that I haven't put anywhere or invested yet, I don't want to spend any of it. I get very protective of it. When I have almost no money left, I'm like, let's just go buy video games. I don't give a shit.
When I look at my bank account, and I look at my bank account in terms of how much I spend every month, and I'm like, I have this many months of bills. I don't close one this month, I'm gonna be fine.
That
right?
could be,
That's
yeah.
the exact
That could
opposite
have an
effect for
opposite
me,
effect
dude.
for some
But
people,
it's same
for
thing when
sure.
it's low, I'm scrambling.
Yeah, when I look at mine, look, spending money just gives me nightmares. You can ask my wife. You can just go and say, look, I don't like to spend money.
You guys live life. Here's the thing that I think is amazing, though, is you guys live life. It's not a matter of because you do this to yourself a lot. You're like you are frugal in areas that matter, so you can do the things that matter, right? You guys vacation like some badasses.
Yeah. I mean, if you're going to go somewhere, it might as well
That's
be
what my
nice.
whole point is.
We
but you-
vacationed so hard, I ended up in the emergency room last time.
but the point being is you've just found what moves your needle forward, and it's memories and legacy building, right? And therefore that's where you've chosen to spend your money. And most people just aren't they're not defined in that, because you know what they're thinking about every month? Okay, I got the electrical paid, I got this paid, I got this other thing paid. I'm good. Even in real estate, man, we all like to flex about whatever, but the reality is most of us know that you are looking at your commission checks and how many months of bills does this pay?
Think about it, dude. This pandemic has revealed that about just about every business
Yeah,
in the
very
United
quickly.
States, dude. Apparently, a sandwich shop like Potbelly can't go 2 months without selling a sandwich, and the whole thing just falls apart.
Yeah, I mean,
it's just.
Well, most businesses aren't, they're not having their reserves. Right?
Well, they have a high velocity of cash flow and very little reserves, which is banana sandwich.
Well,
but-
and they look, business owners like to pay themselves out of it, and they don't hold back, and they don't hold that's a whole different podcast episode in itself. But Holly Knapp has this is a little bit of a long one, but this is good. She's like, I make myself sit down and look at what I've done and how I would have felt when I started if I would have known what I would have accomplished in 7 years. Right. So, if she was going to write down everything she knew she was going to accomplish 7 years in the future.
Yeah.
So it's always amazing to appreciate what you've done. And then rush to the next goal, task, or job. She's like, I make myself text 10 past clients or send handwritten cards and think of the journey I had with them.
That's got to be the biggest thing, right, if you're in a rut. I find that a lot of times, and I talked about this with the team, that is, if you're in a rut, stop trying to find the new thing that's going to get you out of it, right? Usually if you're in a rut, a lot of times we have trouble getting out of it because we try 14 different new things or shiny things or whatever to kind of re-energize our business. If you are in a rut and you are not having some sort of, contact, coffee date, face-to-face, client event, whatever it is to get face-to-face with the people that already know, like, and trust you, that's your number one plan of action right there. It has to be. Sometimes it's the hardest because you're feeling shitty about your business, but that's got to be number one. No shiny toys are going to get you out of the rut.
I just think what everybody really needs to hear, especially, and don't even take it from us, just take it from some of these comments. There's not a single one in there that doesn't involve you taking some action that might make you a little uncomfortable, right? Even if it's just what Meal said about reviewing your goals, right? I think for me, completely ineffective, right? I have the mindset where I can go ahead and talk myself into whatever other thing I needed to talk myself into to be like, this is why I didn't hit it, right? So that's not an effective mechanism for me to pull on. There's other things that work better for me. But even if it's just that, it's still taking action and going back and being like, Corey, let's be honest with ourselves about why we're not where we should be right now. Right? There's not a single one of these that's like, I went and paid Zillow, or I went and paid Realtor.com, or, I started writing a blog and people just showed up. None of that shit is what's going to get you out of a rut. That's the stuff you get to do when you're humming along and you have free time.
Yeah.
Mine is actually really a competitive nature, right? So if I truly hit that rut, I'm going to say, Matt, Brian, where you at? Denton, where you at? What are your people doing? I know I can outproduce anybody.
That's
right?
how I know Nick's not having a great month. Is every time he walks in on Wednesday, he's like, "What's going on with you guys? How's the month? How's the month going?"
Yeah, where's it at? Right? And then I'm like, all right, let me get into it.
Yeah.
Because that drives me,
Yep,
right?
sure.
And there's nothing wrong with having competition, right?
Sure.
Like on our team, I feel from it was like what I run it from May to July 31st. We ran a listing competition.
Okay.
Right, and they hit their numbers. Right,
Dude, congrats.
Yeah, the team hit their numbers. They had to each take 3 listings in that 3-month period in order to qualify, which I was told was low, but we had six or 7 qualify on it.
Okay.
We still hit the team numbers, but then August rolls around and I'm like, ooh, we're struggling to get listings.
Yeah.
Now, granted, look, we only took 9 listings last year, right? August plays it's wonky.
It's back to school August,
right?
man.
It's back to school, but right now,
August.
right? It's back to school, virtual, in person. Maybe we'll go back to virtual. Who knows where we're going to be? August type mentality, and it's definitely thrown a wrench. We have an election year, right? So there's everything.
I don't know why that's a thing.
I think it's a thing around the story that we tell around it, right? Like I don't know a lot about anything, but I will talk about the election year like it somehow freaking matters in real estate, right? Like interest rates are being falsely held down because the sitting president doesn't want to. Like, what are you talking about, dude? Just shut up. Like, I will tell you, for me, August, if I was to look at because this is my 8th August in real estate, if I was to look at easily August is the month that kicks me in the ass the hardest every year. And I don't know if it's just because I've been chilling since May or like what's really going on, but it just August never pendings wise never plays out well for me. I put my first pending on the board yesterday and it's not an insane one.
Yeah.
Right. I've taken a few listings. But the pending side, the stuff that pays you in 30 days.
But that's the cyclical nature of this, where August and we want to use that as an excuse. We don't like our excuses of that.
Yeah.
Because we're like, this is Elizabeth and I have this conversation all the time. Is like, we're not going to use that to hold us back. We just have to figure out. We've got to dig a deeper hole in order to find water.
I think that's maybe the underlying premise of a lot of this conversation is. You've got to find the thing that is going, like, everybody's different, and you've got to find the thing that's going to work for you, right? Like, I compare a lot of things to physicality and athletics and, like, the gym and stuff like that, because that's been important in my whole life. But, like, there's a lot of different personality types in there. There's some people that are motivated by, Eye of the Tiger or something inspirational. You know what I mean? Like that's what gets them going. You ever work out with me, bro? It is headphones on, do your shit, fucking get it done, whatever. And like what inspires me is that dude's doing more than me. I've got to put my nose to the grindstone and work, right? Like so it's kind of the same in real estate. Sometimes we like whatever it is that's your kind of sweet spot. Finding your thing that's going to get you going, you got to go back to that place. For a lot of us, it is pie in the sky, a lot of visionary type of stuff. For people like Nick, it is everybody, or I wouldn't say anybody. For people like Nick, it is one person on earth is beating me right now. I'm going to go into rage mode until we get this done. And I think I think what I'm trying to say is having that self-awareness and knowing a lot about what makes you tick is really, really crucial because we get put into these situations with a lot of training and a lot of stuff in real estate where we kind of are asked to conform to a lot of other people's styles of doing things through a lot of seminars, trainings, all that type of stuff. The real conversation around this is you've got to have that awareness around what makes you tick.
Yeah. Brian Fox just commented on here. He's like, I spend the most money on marketing during the last quarter when everyone else is holding back. That has provided an 80% increase in business year over year.
Wow. It's the buy low, sell high thought process around your marketing dollar, right? When everybody else is like the fourth quarter is going to be lean. And fourth quarter for me is always my second best quarter of the year. Yeah. I love fourth quarter, dude. It's August and September that really just beat me down.
But usually, if you think about it, it's not the fourth quarter. Your fourth quarter is good because of what you're doing September, October. It's your fourth quarter. What you're doing in fourth quarter is going to run your January, February numbers.
Yes. And
that's where most people's their January, February numbers are off because what do? They're not working because of Thanksgiving holidays. They're not working because of the December holidays.
Yes.
Then they're partying their ass off because then they got New Year. New Year, new them.
Oh,
right?
Year.
Yeah.
Here's how my year goes every year. We'll start at the beginning of the year. January and February, not closing very much. Get scared.
Yeah.
Start lead generating more. March, naturally get business because it starts picking back up. Lead generation from January and February carries me through April, May, June, July. August, September, freak out again.
Yeah.
Right? September and October, or September's in August is shit. pulls me into kind of the October, November, December, and then back to January, February recap. I've got like 4 months out of the year, every single year, where I can look at my business and be like, every year, dude. Every year, January and February are so light, and August and September are so light. Every single year.
Yeah, and it's cyclical.
Yeah.
Speaking of like this time of year and being scared, this made me think of this. So like when my first year in real estate, I was doing like my first farming campaign, but it wasn't really farming because I didn't have money for postage. So it was like I could add money to get the letters printed, but I didn't have money for postage. So I'd get these newsletters printed, and I'd walk and I'd put them on all the doors. This is Panther Creek Estates in Frisco, Texas. And I'd do it. I was very embarrassed that I didn't have the money to mail them. So I'd do it very early in the morning so no one saw me. It was in October. Swear to God this happened. And I'm walking through this neighborhood at like 5:30 in the morning. It's pitch black outside still. And I'm putting all these newsletters on the doors. And I have this brown satchel, which I still have to this day. And I carry a stack in my hand, like 50, and the rest are in my satchel. And I went up to these people's door to put it in one of those motion sensor Halloween ghosts. Jumped out at me. And I'm already not super happy about the dark. I'm not saying I'm afraid of it. I just prefer the light if I had my choice. I threw every one of them up in the air in a fit and ran away. And so I can only imagine this person waking up at like 8 in the morning and walking outside, and there's just like 50 of my newsletters scattered about. But don't put a scary ghost that is activated 24/7. That's on you.
Just don't go out during October and not expect the scary ghost to jump out.
That's
right.
That is true. That is on me.
Look, but at the same time, did that put you in a rut to stop you from delivering it the next week or the next month? I know.
And I walked that neighborhood so many
times. Here's the thing. One of my first buyer closings that came from someone I didn't know was I was passing out these, kind of in apartments, come buy a house type deal. I got kicked out, right? The guy that was tasked to take all my letters off the door, turned out he called me. He's like, hey, I want to buy.
Oh.
But he was deaf. So I had to do it through those TTYL lines.
I've had 2 clients that we've navigated that
before.
And that was before I had unlimited cell phone minutes. And so my commission was like a little over $3,000, but I think my cell phone bill was like $1,200.
Right?
That, So it was. that was one of my first deals. But that's the thing, getting kicked out. I will tell you, when I got kicked out, I never went back to another apartment complex and delivered.
Yeah,
on
I don't know if I'd have the balls to either.
Right?
I might be skittish.
Yeah. So that's the thing is just finding, going back to your hustle, right? So if shit hit the fan today, like right now, I literally have been back and saying, all right, it's August, with where we're at numbers wise, what do I need to do for lead gen? Where are you guys at? Like that's what and then I'm gonna use it from a competition standpoint in my own head and be like, look guys, I'm gonna start picking up and hitting those phones. And if I get success, there's no reason why when you're committing 40 hours a week or 50 hours a week to this, that you cannot have 3, 4, 5 times my business.
Yep.
Well, right. and here's the reality too. If your business is at a place where the whole thing's felt like a rut, right? Like you just haven't got it off. You're kind of doing the 7 to 10, 12 transactions, right? Like you're doing one a month and it feels okay. The reality is all this same stuff still applies, because you can look at it and say, well, Nick, I don't know what my bread and butter is or whatever. Mm-hmm. Like, then you're still on the journey to figuring that out, right? Like this isn't just a conversation that for producers who have lulled or whatever. Like if your whole kind of career feels like a rut, then it's definitely on you to find the couple of things that you can focus on. Christina just gave Brian a little shout out. Like that, dude, that is hustling. Go print the damn things yourself and walk the neighborhood. I agree. I think mailing stuff is incredibly expensive. I didn't start mailing stuff until I became business partners with him, and he mails stuff, and I get the benefit from it. But I've always thought it. But print all the things out and go walk the neighborhood and put them on the doors.
Real quick. This is a little off topic.
Yeah, that's whatever. We've been at this for 40 minutes.
First off, by the way, I had a conversation with a gentleman last week who was like, I listen to y'all's show all the time. He's out in California. He's like, I love Brian's billionaire ideas. So I'm like, we haven't done one.
He's been real happy in about 10 minutes.
Okay, great. So it's not going to be 10 minutes because we're running up against the clock already. Okay. But I've always had this idea: if you were hurting, you don't have money for postage, could you just write the address that you're sending it to, right? So 123 Main Street, Plano, Texas, could I do the return address as 123 Main Street, drop it, because it will then return it back to them.
It just, that letter stays in a loop for all eternity.
Well, it just no, because when you
they'll
do it,
think that they sent it to themselves.
It's returned to sender because they didn't have sufficient postage.
So it's
Somebody's
just-
going to
there's-
figure out your bit at some point.
Do you think they're gonna open it though when they get it as the return address? They're gonna be like, I didn't send-
Maybe.
maybe. They're gonna think it
yeah.
down. They're gonna think it's anthrax.
If I get something
it's
from
100%
me,
how you get anthrax.
if I get something from me to me that I never sent, I'm probably open. But maybe I might be an idiot though, because there are a couple of bits going around right now with like people's mail where they're like freaked out to open it. So
I don't
they
wanna
might
get-
open it and be like, Nick Good, you son of a bitch. Right?
Look, if I can outsmart the postal service, then I'm smart enough to sell your
You
home.
might,
right
but
now.
I do think I will, and again, because we're off subject a little bit, I do think we're in a world more than ever where like you're going to get absolutely pasted for aggressive or bad marketing more than just not sending it at all.
yeah, 100%.
Right? Like the type of people who would do that, ugh. I see it happen to you guys. I've seen it happen. We've got some mailing stuff
You're
going
on
out.
the right track though, because if I had a nickel for every jank workaround I figured out in our business to save us money, I don't know.
Look,
I'd be making collect calls all day.
I thought about that in the very beginning of my career when I'm sending these out. I'm like, man, I don't really want to pay for this postage. I have the forever stamps,
yeah.
and then they keep going up in cost.
Dude, 55 cents now.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. I didn't realize that until a week ago. I was like, are you out of your damn mind? 55. I remember when it was 44, like last year.
Brian's getting to that point in his life where he's like,
just such an
he's now
old
old
man.
enough where he has
Yeah.
like some depth in the memory of like how
Yeah.
things cost. Like,
Exactly.
I remember the first McDonald's I worked at. I think I made $3.85 an hour.
For real?
Oh, dude, that was a real thing. Yes. My first semester at Iowa State, I think, cost me my first year cost like $3,200 for the whole year.
Really?
Yeah, like you can't even get books for that anymore.
No, not at all. My first job was at Hobby Lobby. Oh, and I'm sorry.
Hobby Lobby.
Yeah, I made $6.25.
It's pretty
Oh,
good.
yeah.
That's
Let me
real
tell
good.
You, let me tell you something about Hobby Lobby. Apparently, people save all their dirty stuff for the bathrooms at Hobby Lobby. I don't know what it is about that particular craft store, but man, was that not a fun part
I
of
thought
my
they
job.
saved it all for the men's room that Dean's List in Ames, Iowa. So I think it's just,
that's
job
just the thing.
dependent.
Yeah, that's just you just save your worst for the public bathrooms of all sorts, man. Terrible.
Are we queued up for the?
Oh, we got to manually do it.
Oh yeah, see that's the great thing about the show difference. Now the camera may be on me, it may not. I don't
All
even know.
right,
Just
you're not going to
Brian
be muted,
sometimes.
so here we go.
And now, Brian Force's billionaire movie something.
I missed it.
Miss Derek too so much.
Have you had a call with Derek lately?
He texts us all the
I
time.
made a text with him and
Oh,
stuff.
texting, but that's different. That's impersonal.
I haven't been able to play any. I haven't been able to play any Call of Duty with him though.
Yeah,
He's too good anyway. Screw that guy.
Yeah.
he makes it way harder.
Too
You know,
awesome,
I
Derek.
was thinking about this.
I want to be
earlier.
your friend, but you're too great.
I was thinking about this earlier today because we were listening to the radio, and like the commercials are always way louder than the regular radio. So I had to turn it down, and I started thinking about how they like torture people with really loud music, like terrorists or like POWs or like Jason Bateman in Ozark when he gets captured by the cartel, like just like standard.
Never watched 1 second of that show. Still,
It's very good.
I'm not gonna do it now.
It's very good.
Hopefully you weren't spoiling it. Like, did he get captured in the beginning, or is that later on?
I was like way into it.
I don't
No,
believe.
don't tell me.
I don't believe in 20 spoilers. Like I just don't. Like, and I'm not gonna.
Bro,
feel so-
yeah,
Dude,
when-
if you're not up on the show, you're just SOL, man.
In
I'm
the-
sorry.
in
I
the
don't-
world
I
of
disagree
binge
with that.
watching-
Don't.
Stop binge watching. Don't do it.
2 days after something comes out, if you haven't binge watched it, I'm talking about
No.
it. But I was thinking about that's like a thing. That's like a thing. It's like water torture and loud music are kind of like the main things, I think.
Well, and sleep.
Sleep deprivation,
Yep.
but that's mostly because of the music, because they're playing the loud music, I think. I'm going to do the opposite when I torture people. Not that I'm going to start torturing people, but if I were.
It's gonna make it really comfortable.
Yeah, no, I'm gonna do the thing. Like, have you ever been at a place and you think you can hear a song, but you're not sure if it's actually playing? That's gonna be my whole. It's gonna be my whole torture thing. I'm gonna have like all my guys I'm torturing, all my terrorists that I've captured single-handedly, in like one room, and the whole time they're gonna be like, is that fucking Freebird? I swear to God. Like, do you not hear that? And I'm like, I don't know. Like, half of them are going to agree, and the other half will be like, what are you talking about? And there's going to be a lot of infighting, which will make them sort of, it's going to be a thing where they start to torture themselves. It's going to be a Lord of the Flies situation is going to break out. I'm going to do a lot of songs with some very specific drum beats, too. I'm going to do like a lot of Kanye, where you're like, I fucking know that part. I know I heard that. But it's going to be so faint that you can never really be sure, and then you just descend into madness. The food's not going to be good either, so that's going to be part of it.
It's just going to be bologna sandwiches.
Yeah, 100%.
It's funny you said Lord of the Flies. I want you guys to know every single time I hear Lord of the Flies, I think Jeff Goldblum in The Fly.
The Fly, and you think that's Lord of the Flies?
Yeah. For a second, I was had to remind myself, wait, it's not that one. It's not that movie.
I would just
Every
say
single
that
time.
you watch a lot of movies. I don't even know any of this.
You
should
don't know
watch-
Lord of the Flies?
Dude, forget
Okay.
Lord of the Flies. You need to watch The Fly with Jeff Goldblum. Honestly, greatest visual spectacular event of your life.
It's a pinnacle.
At one
Jeff
point, he
Goldblum.
pukes on himself because he's a fly and his own thing dissolves off.
Yeah, it does. Jeff Goldblum's an enigma. Is he a sex symbol at one point or not?
I think Jeff Goldblum is one of the most interesting humans in the world, not because I think he's smart or I think he's dumb. Just the way he talks makes me just kind of feel like,
And I want to think that he's like that in real life 100%.
yeah.
I think he is.
I want to talk like that. I want to use my hands.
Is he
like
the
that as well.
apartment guy?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, anyway.
Look,
That's
if
it.
you're ready to get out of that apartment,
Hey, look at that.
right? And you're ready to make some money. You want to take some listings. Go over to touracademy.com/take10. Sign up for our 10 plus listings every single month webinar, and then sign up for Tour Academy. And that way you can be on the Tour Academy Mastermind call, which is coming up this Monday. Right? We have it twice a month. You'll want to be a part of it. So touracademy.com/take10, and then join the only real estate group worth being a part of on Facebook. And then on iTunes, leave us a review.
Please.
He's gotten so good at that.
No.
At one point, I wanted to lead this show, but I realized Nick's just too good.
This is too good. We can never replicate it.
No. Lady, get us out of here.
Hey, thanks for checking out another. And go and join our Facebook group, the only real estate group worth being a part of. If you're watching on YouTube, please make sure to like, share, and subscribe, and give us a review on iTunes. It helps us get our content out to more awesome real estate professionals like you. And last but not least, if you are on Call of Duty, my gamer tag is Brian the Force. I'll see you there.